The following is a special presentation of iRacing on LSRTV, your home for sim racing.
Good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to the fastest track in NASCAR as LSRTV presents tonight's Young Gun Apparel 250 at Talladega Superspeedway. We want to welcome you to the United Sim Racing's B&C Lawn and Landscape and Truck Series as we go truck racing super speedway style. My name is Kelly Dahl. With me tonight is Trevin Valderrama, and as always, Cisco Scaramouza down in the production trailer getting you all those beautiful camera angles. Now, Trevin, we're 7 races into the season, and we've had only 3 separate winners, but tonight's a bit of a wild card as we're at a super speedway. Do you think tonight's the night we get a first-time winner here in the series?
Oh, absolutely. I'm fairly sure. You know, when you go to super speedway tracks, anything can happen and anything will happen, as we have seen Seth the Merchant dominate 3 wins already, alongside with Justin Michael 2 wins, and Christian Peterson winning last week. You know, we can just see I just see a new winner coming out tonight as we conquer this 2.6 mile track, and it's going to be an amazing race tonight.
Well, there is that thing between Seth the Merchant and Christian Peterson. They showed last week that they're teammates, they're working together, and they can work together well. And they already said this week that they're going to be starting at the back, going to be working their way back up through the field as they try to find those gaps. But you also have to think about Justin Michael. He had a good showing a few weeks back when we started the season in Daytona, and he may have a chance to do some work there as well.
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting one as we see Tommy Ryan at the top of the speed charts already. As you know, he could definitely be the one to come out on top. And you know, this track is always going to be a track you have to work with somebody with. So those 2 people that you're talking about earlier, definitely going to keep an eye out on them for them, and going to be exciting. To see who works with who and how it works out for those drivers who work together, and who's going to be fighting for themselves during the end of the race, and who's going to be leaving each other out to dry on the high side, jumping down to the low side, trying to get in line and just saying, I gotta go, I can't work with you anymore.
Well, we're going to take a quick look at our points here coming into this race, and Aaron Bennett, he's still sitting at the top of that points leaderboard despite not winning a single race so far. He's just been absolutely dominant in terms of consistency, as 4 out of the 6 races he's been in the top 5, and 5 out of 6 he's been in the top 10. He is just week in, week out. You always expect him to just be running up there quietly and just kind of quietly leads that series. But Seth the Merchant, despite his 3 wins, sits in 2nd place with just 17 points back. But Scott Simley, our 2-time defending champion, currently sits 28 points back. He's had only 2 top 5s and 2 top 10s. Just not quite having a great start to his season, but watch for him to really kick up into another gear here and try to defend his title for a 3rd time. Going back through the field to where our chase cutoff is, back in 12th place, we actually have a tie for 12th. Mark McCurry and Michael Atkins Jr., they both sit at 144 points. So all throughout this field, even though we're 7 races in, we have got a lot of close points battles.
Absolutely, and you know, points are definitely going to be more of a factor going into more races closer to the chase. And you know that they only 12 drivers get into that chase, as we're only round 7, but still you got to start thinking long term. And definitely Aaron Bennett, definitely thinking long term with all the top 5s and top 10s that he's getting and top 5s that he's getting. But Seth the Merchant definitely wanting to work better and work harder to get to that first point, or first position on the standing boards, and we'll see him work better, or work to get himself into that top spot.
Now, we had a few drivers last week let us know that they're going to be planning on starting at the back of the field the race. And at a super speedway, that could be a blessing and a curse. Yes, you don't have those accidents kind of jump out in front of you, but if you're back in the field and that accident happens in front of you, you've got to drive your way through it. And really, my strategies when I'm driving in super speedways, I always try to get as close to the front as possible because I'd rather have a higher chance of that accident happening behind me. But that does run the risk of starting midfield and just having maybe that accident happen directly in front of you and leave you with nowhere to go.
Oh, absolutely, especially with super speedway racing. You know, you have that wreck, and it's going to be hard to avoid that wreck if it happens in front of you. It's also going to be hard to avoid it if you're inside of it, because these things happen in an instant. And going this fast on this track, you know, you're really going to have no time to react, and definitely you're going to want to be up towards the front as close as you can. And starting back in, you know, like last place or something like that, it's definitely going to be a gamble, because you could easily lose that draft, and then if you go green all the way, you're not gonna be able to get to that front pack like you want to. So, you know, it's definitely a gamble, but I'm thinking it's gonna pay off for some drivers, because this is Talladega and anything can happen.
Well, a quick look at tonight's track facts, and as mentioned, we are at Talladega Super Speedways at the high banking. Banking in the turns, 33 degrees. Front stretch, 16.5 degrees, and the back stretch, the flattest part of the track, is still banked at a little small hill of 3 degrees. The track length is 2.666 miles. We'll be doing this lap, or 94 laps around this track for a total of 250 miles here tonight. So really a very unique track in the fact that you have so much space here as well. Daytona, it's similar to Talladega, and you get the high banks, it's super speedway, but Talladega is just a little bit wider and gives you that room to go 3 wide, maybe even 4 wide, as we saw during practice a couple times.
Yeah, Daytona, as you mentioned, it's a narrower track, so it's going to be harder to go 3 wide and possibly even 4 wide. But here you have so much room, and I'm sure you're definitely going to be seeing some 4 wide action, because we saw that in practice and they were fantastic at it. So it's going to be some great racing tonight, and I expect nothing less of them. We're getting ready to grid up.
The clock ticks down on qualifying, and it looks like Tommy Ryan will take our pole position here tonight. So we're going to quickly run through our LSRTV starting lineup. Starting on pole, as mentioned, the number 6 of Tommy Ryan. To his outside will be the number 54 of Tim Matthews. Third place goes to Jody Green. Seth DeMerchant, deciding to scrap and call an audible on his earlier strategy, qualifies 4th. 5th to Cody Gibson. Jeff Ryan in 6th. Steve Price Jr. in 7th. Stephanie Lessentine in 8th. Christian Peterson in 9th, and Ricky Howell Jr. rounds out our top 10.
Starting in 11th will be Louis Rabinta. Starting 12th will be Bobby Terrell. Scott Simley starting 13th. Starting 14th will be Brian Kutz. Starting 15th in that number 5 machine, Chris Gibu. 16th will be Rich Jetty. 17th will be Keith Butt. Robert Gillenwater will be starting 18th. 19th will be Joshua Banks, and rounding out your top 20 will be Dwight Beverly.
Seth Foudy will be rolling off in 21st. 22nd, the last car to take a qualifying time, will be Scott Formosa. The rest of these drivers electing to take a provisional and being lined up wherever they may fall. Justin Michael, our last time winner at Daytona, starts 23rd. 24th, Randy Tesser. Mark McCrary in 25th, Greg Mull 26th, Dwayne Dunn in 27th, Aaron Bennett, the points leader, in 28th, 29th, Dustin Hall, and rounding out the top 30, the number 2 of Michael Atkins Jr.
George Hendricks will start 31st. 32nd will be Jamie Walker. 33rd will be Matt Mara. 34th will be Michael Warren. 35th will be Ralph Vandervorst. 36th, Shane Hother, and rounding out your field, 37th position, Michael Wade.
So 37 trucks will roll off the starting grid and take the green flag here tonight, and that is a large number, as we've seen really this number stay about the same the last few weeks. A huge grid here tonight once again, and there really is going to be an opportunity for a lot of trucks to try to make some moves, hook up together. A lot of people you can try to work with, but really is that opportunity for maybe some big accidents to happen. But these guys are very clean. We saw them go completely flag to flag, green flag last week at Texas, but Talladega really is a different story.
Oh yeah, Talladega is definitely a different story. As you know, we know we're going to be running very close together. This is pack racing. We're going to be running high speeds on a track that is known for chaos, and it's just going to be a fantastic one. As you're mentioning, these guys are extremely clean. They went flag to flag last time, but that doesn't mean that accidents do happen. You know, it could happen at any time. It can happen at any place. So you know, we're going to be looking for wrecks that could happen in the front and wrecks that could potentially be happening in the back.
And something to really quickly touch on, our pole sitter, Tommy Ryan, has elected to start from pit road, so he will not be rolling off with the field, and he will not actually be rolling off at all until the green flag is dropped, and he's going to take quite a bit. It's not like he just stopped on the side and asked for an AOL. He's actually sitting in pit road, which is going to force him to wait about 10 or so seconds after the green flag drops, so he'll be at least over half a lap down before he gets to go off pit road.
Yeah, and that's the thing we were talking about with drivers wanting to start in the back of the pack, but it's interesting that he's going to start from pit road. I do not know if anybody else is starting from pit road, so he's going to have to find somebody to work with fairly quickly and hope that there is going to eventually be a caution so he could catch back up to that group.
Steve Price Jr. qualified 7th. He's actually going to be taking over the pole position because he was the first driver on that inside line to decide to hit the grid and not go from that pit road start. So that's definitely an interesting development here. So the outside line will stay relatively the same. Tim Matthews is still going to be sitting on that outside, but now you get that 78 of Steve Price Jr. on the inside. So we'll have to see how that's going to shape up. There are a number of trucks that decided to stay on pit road, but really, we're going to have to ignore those for now because we are about to go green flag. iRacing official pace car ducks down the pit road. We have got a long wait until we hit that start-finish line here at Talladega. They roll slowly through the tri-oval. It's the 78 of Steve Price Jr. has control, waiting for that green flag to drop. And we are finally, after a long wait, going to go green here at Talladega. For the Young Gun Apparel 250, Steve Price, a fantastic jump, but that's actually going to cost him quite a bit, as Christian Peterson actually is a large gap, so he can't push him at all. Seth the Merchant right up to the bumper of Tim Matthews, but wasting no time dropping to that inside to get to his teammate of Christian Peterson. That's going to be a story throughout the night. Those two are not going to be very far from each other's bumpers, but that's very costly for Tim Matthews. He's stuck all on his own outside. Look at the run they've got up to Steve Price Jr., and they're going to leave him in the dust. The two trucks up to the high side, and they are going to fly by 78 like he's standing still.
25 moving up to that middle lane, trying to follow their move as the number 54 and 18 catch up to each other, and going to try and make that outside line work in the beginning run. But that driver who started 7th, Steve Price Jr., my bad, he definitely got left behind as we see those drivers up front work together, as Christian Peterson definitely getting out in front as getting pushed by Seth the Merchant. Very, very interesting call, and Christian Peterson will lead lap number 1.
Yeah, that 25 Stephanie Lessentine, that's a wild card here tonight. She did fantastic job last time we were at a super speedway in Daytona. Expect for her to maybe be that one to break up Christian Peterson and Seth the Merchant's run, but at the moment she's just content to hang on to these two guys and follow them through. As she got a fantastic jump on the start. She qualified 8th place and just flew her way up through the middle of the field to line up with these guys, but now the rest of the pack is starting to catch up to those three that are up front. The 54 of Tim Matthews, he's got a little bit of help behind him from Ricky Howell Jr., and they're going to see if they can make that outside line work. Getting a decent run off that turn 4 banking, that'll actually pull them up even with the 78 of Steve Price Jr., but they just can't quite get any further from that. But they do have that 04 of Brian Cutts catching up with them, and he's got another driver along with him, so that outside line starting to form up, and they are starting to make their move to the front.
Absolutely. The more cars you have in one lane, the faster that line's going to be. As you see, that bottom line is really only 4 cars long, and then you have a little break between the number 78 and the 30, but that is closing quickly. And you also have that line up top working as the number 54 of Tim Matthews is definitely going to get pushed a little bit in front, but are they going to be able to clear him as we have that number 5 and 33 also catching up to that top lane? So number 5 is also going to jump down, going to think better of staying up high, seeing that the low line has a lot more cars, jump down to the bottom, and you have a little bit of gap, so that as you see that number 54 is starting to fall back a little bit more, but you're going to see a lot of close racing as the night wears on.
Now, one thing these drivers will not really have to worry about throughout the night is their temperatures. They're only running 20% tape on those front ends, so they are going to get a lot of air into the intakes. They're going to be allowed to push as hard as they can. And speaking of pushing the 18, pushing the 54 hard, Tim Matthews is going to clear the 23. He's going to move down to the inside. Tim Matthews takes control of the race lead, but now that opens up a chance for Ricky Howell Jr. if he can get a few guys behind him, but he has a bad entry along with the rest of the high side, bad entry into 3, and that's actually going to allow Christian Peterson to move up to the high side. Christian Peterson, though, left behind. 3 wide now down the front stretch heading into the tri-oval. The 18 Ricky Howell Jr. wanted to see if he could make a move and leave Christian Peterson there, but no one else wanted to risk it with him. So now the 18 of Ricky Howell Jr. moving backwards, stuck on that high side, trying to find his way back to the tail end of the high line. May not have that time, though, to really, he may have lost too much speed and too much momentum to catch up to that draft. So he's going to now move even further back, drop to the inside line, but Tim Matthews takes control of the race lead. Christian Peterson still trying to find his way to get around him. He's got a good push from the Brian Cutts. Brian giving him a bit of a bump draft down that back straight.
Yeah, it's going to be fighting all night long. As you saw, 3 wide action. You know, you got bumped out to the outside and then got left to dry. We're going to be seeing a lot of that tonight, and a lot of close racing, as you see that number 54 on that low side still. The number 23 trying to catch back up. You know, we're going to see a lot of close racing tonight, Kelly.
Well, tonight we want to thank Young Gun Apparel for sponsoring tonight's race. Go check them out at www.young-gun-apparel.com. They are the ones that have allowed us to watch this fantastic race that's forming up so far. Christian Peterson making another attempt to go for the race lead, but can't quite get that momentum. Now he's got Brian Cutts again right on his bumper, but Brian's moving around quite a bit. I don't know if he's trying to look for a way to maybe go around, or maybe trying to see if he wants Joshua Banks to go with him, but he actually does end up giving Christian Peterson a good push. Christian Peterson getting a great run into turn 3, but now that they're in the corner, that's going to give a bit more of an advantage to Tim Matthews, but that bottom line isn't quite as bunched up as the high line. You've only got really 2 trucks pushing each other hard compared to that high line where you've got 3 guys running bumper to bumper, but now Stephanie's starting to catch up a little bit to the bumper of Seth the Merchant. That will help that actually Tim Matthews out and will allow him to lead another lap.
Yeah, absolutely. As we see that 23 still leading that high side, and it's getting really badly up here, as the number 54 is still going to lead that bottom side. They get a little bit of a run off that corner of that high side, as you see down there, but that second group is definitely starting to catch them a little bit. The leader of that second group, the number 30 and that number 78, are working together, bringing together that second group and that first group. So definitely going to have a lot more cars involved as we see this race, and possibly see a third line coming up very soon, as we see the number 23 getting pushed by the 04 Brian Cutts. Being able to clear them a little bit. Oh, that was very close. Brian Cutts keeps it up as the number 23 goes down. Brian's going to try and get pushed by that number 96 or 36, excuse me, on the high side, followed quickly behind the number 18 of Ricky Howell Jr. Very close racing involved here tonight at Talladega Superspeedway.
Yeah, some smart racing from Brian Cutts. He saw that he could follow Christian down to the bottom, but decided he may have a chance at a good run on that outside, and he does have a good run. He's going to get clear. So is the 36. Oh, actually, the 36 not quite getting clear. Joshua Banks having to stay to the high side, but the 04 of Brian Cutts, he moves down to the race lead. We'll have to see if he'll even hold on to that until the stripe, because that high side, again, is going to get a decent run off the corner, but doesn't look like the 18 is going to push as hard as the Christian Peterson is. Christian Peterson giving a hard push to Brian Cutts, maybe repaying him a little bit for the pushing that Brian was doing to him when he was trying to make that pass on the high side. So Brian Cutts will lead a lap, but that may not be for long. Joshua Banks getting a good run that time, and off of turn 2, they're going to get really a huge flying run down that high side. They go down the banking, but it's going to be counterattacked and really defended from by Christian Peterson, because Christian is right up to that bumper of the 04. There is no space, so that is really going to hold off that charging attack. And look at the 33 nearly getting down into the bottom line. Keith Butt just having a bit of a lapse in concentration there, and that could be deadly at super speedway like this. Just a minor mistake won't just end your race, it'll end the race of maybe 5 others.
Yeah, and you know, the slightest movement in the corner panel, the wrong tap at the wrong time at the wrong place could spell disaster, as we see 3 wide now up in that lead pack. The number 30, 33 and number 2 and number 1 are now in the middle, so we're going to see how that works out for them, as the high side is falling back quickly. We're seeing that number 78 also fall back a little bit more as the laps wear on. He's definitely fallen back, probably, you know, for this is getting too intense for lap 10. Definitely want to fall back to save myself a little bit of time, because I'm feeling that they're going to wreck. Could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. We're just gonna have to watch him as the race wears on. As you see that top lane starting to diminish a little bit, as you see the number 04 still leading that pack on the bottom line.
Yeah, Chris Guillebeau and Scott Formosa tried their best to make that high side work, but no one really wanted to go there. And look at the 33, Keith Butt, he gets shoved down the line, so now he's up on that high side. And again, look at the 5, he's kind of shading up to that high side. Him and Scott Formosa really want to try to make that third line work, but they just need to get a few more trucks together. So if they could get together and get up with that 33, they just won't have the time. 33, Keith Butt, he slips back into the line on that high side. And now look at the run up front. Huge push from the 18 of Ricky Howell Jr. and Joshua Banks rockets to the front, brings Ricky Howell Jr. with him. And now on the high side, Seth the Merchant. Christian Peterson looking to see if he could get in behind his teammate, but he's held off by the 2 of Michael Atkins Jr. So now those teammates are going to have forced to be run side by side, not be able to help each other as much. And now Joshua Banks, he's going to take over your race lead going into lap number 12.
Yeah, things can change in an instant here as number 18 of Ricky Howell Jr. will go up top side in front of the number 57 of Seth the Merchant, trying to get pushed into the front. As you see right now, it's very close as you see this battle going on. This has been a non-stop battle, 2 wide action since the start. This is the kind of racing that we love here at LSRTV, and I'm sure you guys at home as well. Number 18 getting pushed on the high side to the front by the number 57 of Seth the Merchant, trying to get him cleared, but that bottom line getting more momentum back on the bottom side in the turns, so it's definitely going to be hard for them as they're going to need to clear him in the corner if they want to get in the lead. As you see that number 36 still leading that Hornet's Nest.
And where you want to be on that high side, you want to make the move off of the corner. You get to run down that banking, which is almost a couple stories high, really, in comparison to that back straight. So watch for them to come off that back corner, or the back straight here off of turn 2, and they're even getting some momentum here already. And watch for the 18, he's going to go rocketing off of the front. If he can get a little bit more help from Seth the Merchant. Seth now getting up to the bumper, giving him a bit of a bump draft now, but they just weren't quite tight enough together coming off the corner. It looked like they had the momentum through the corner. Oh, actually some contact between the 33 and the 2. That was almost disastrous there. The 33 was not square with the 2 truck there as they made contact. That could have been dangerous there if the 2 had lost control, but some good wheel work from those guys. They are able to keep this thing in line and really not even lose any time.
Yeah, as I was talking before, wrong bump, wrong place, wrong time, all spells disaster. But these guys, being as professional as they are, able to keep it straight, and that's just fantastic work by that number 2 machine of Michael Atkins Jr. As you see that number 18 and 36 still battling it out very, very heavily. As we see the number 36 of Joshua Banks still leading, as you see now the 57 pushing Ricky Howell Jr. to the point, trying to get cleared. Not going to happen. Let's see if that bottom side will get more momentum. A little bit of stalemate as you see that bottom line now starting to edge them out a little bit more coming through that corner. Definitely close racing. They're going to need more cars on that high side if they're going to want to try and get a charge for that lead. As you see them trying to get that side draft going on, as you see that number 18 now clear of the number 36, leaving Seth the Merchant, leader of that high side. He's kind of still not there. There he goes. Now he's completely down. Not sure of what he wanted to do, but now Seth the Merchant has a bit of a run going down the backstretch. The number 2 going to try and push him going down. Will he be able to clear the 18 by turn number 3? It's going to be a close call. No, he's not. So that 18 still going to be able to hold him off through turn 3.
The 36, though, is not getting up to that 18's bumper, and that's going to absolutely kill any momentum. Watch the high side for a big run coming off the corner. It's enough of a run for Seth the Merchant to get clear. Will he bring the 2 with him? I think he's going to drop down immediately. So that's going to leave the 2 on that high side. Michael Atkins Jr. is now going to be on that leader of the second line, and a big shot from that 33 truck. Keith Butt gives him a hard push, and they are actually going to get the nose out in front before turn number 1, and that may be an opportunity for them to make a move. And look at who else is tagging along that high line. Christian Peterson, just that 3rd truck back there. It looks like he's going to try to follow this high line along so he can get closer to his teammate to allow them to work together once again. But the 18 pushing the 57 on that bottom side, trying to defend against the 2 and the 33 on the high side. Seth the Merchant still leading this race, actually getting a great run through the middle of turns 3 and 4. And that's going to allow them to get maybe even hold off this position. But the bottom side really needs a few more trucks to help them along. They're really spaced out, but the high side themselves, they've got no one with them. There's only those 3 trucks up there.
Yeah, that was a very close call between that 33 and the number 18. 33 got loose or something in that tri-oval and nearly went to that number 18. 33 able to keep it off the number 18 of Ricky Howell Jr. Very, very good driving by Keith Butt. Now it's only Keith Butt and the number 23 as the number 2 took the lead away from that 57. Let's see what that number 23 and 33 will do. 23 jumps down and leaving Keith Butt up to dry on the high side. So Keith is going to have to find a way to get into that low line as you see that second line start to diminish as now 23 is going to look to work with number 18. Keith Butt did not take the opportunity to jump down in line behind Christian Peterson, so he's going to stay up on that high side, see if he can make something work with that number 25 machine of Stephanie Lesentine. It's just not going to happen as you see him fall further and further back behind as you still see that number 2 of Michael Atkins Jr. able to keep up that lead.
And now there's really only those 2 trucks on the high side, and they're way back there in the field, sitting now back in about 7th position. Look at Christian Peterson now. He's trying to look to that outside, seeing if he can get just enough momentum to get around the 18, because all he wants right now is to get up with his teammate. And now he's also trying to see if he can tag on to this outside line as they start to gain momentum, but it doesn't look like the 33 wants anything to do with him. He tries to go to the outside, but Stephanie Lesentine will not go with him. Stephanie not trusting him enough to go 3 wide, so that's going to leave Keith Butt out to dry. He's going to do his best to hang on to the side draft, but he's definitely going to be moving backwards with no one to help him. Stephanie Lesentine now pushing the 23 of Christian Peterson. Christian Peterson going to try his best to catch up to his teammate Seth the Merchant. And I'm sure once CP gets up to the at least 3rd position, at least clears that 18, Seth's going to jump to that high side, get in front of Christian, and they're going to push to the try to at least push each other to the front.
Yeah, that was the second time that the 33 did get hung out to dry. Now he's falling back very quickly. Now up to about 10th position, or excuse me, down to 10th position. That was the second time, and I know that that's a heartbreak feeling when you just wanted to get something done on that high side, but nobody else wants to go with you as you see that number 23 and 25 still working together. 57, no surprise there, jumps in front of number 23 machine of Kristen Peterson. Now the teammates are back together. Look at that train go. 57, 23 working like very well together, and Stephanie Lesentine also going to try and clear that number 2. Did not trust it herself, so now she's going to stay up on that high side, leading it with that number 36 machine as Seth the Merchant and Christian Peterson take that top spot.
That was a picture-perfect move from those 2 trucks. He moved out just at a perfect moment to have that 2 trucks stall out going onto that front straight, and it really didn't hold up that outside line at all. Their speeds were pretty equally matched, and it just left a big enough gap behind that 2 truck to just leave him with no one pushing him. So some great moving, great driving from those 2 to move around that 2 truck. But now he's going to try to counterattack with the help of Stephanie Lesentine going into the tri-oval. Now he's got a bit of a momentum here. He's going to pull up even with Seth the Merchant, but I do not think he's going to lead the lap. I believe that will go to Seth the Merchant by 2 1/1000ths of a second, so very close at the line at the moment, and some trouble back in the field between the 36 and the 33. Neither of them really, they just caught their signals crossed a little bit. 36 just kind of getting a little high on the track. 33 kind of almost boxing him out a little as they now try to get back together to work with each other to start pushing once again, but that cost them quite a bit of time and really pushed them really far back from Stephanie Lesentine and the 2 of Michael Atkins Jr., who's looking for a good finish tonight so that he can get himself into that chase picture.
Yeah, points again, they're going to make him do crazy things as we get closer and closer to that chase, but you're going to need people to draft with. As you see that number 04 get a little loose. That was very, very close, but again, great drivers in this series. They're going to be able to hold on to that car. That was fantastic work. It's going to put 36 and 33 up into that top lane. Joshua Banks now getting up to Stephanie Lesentine. 33 following close behind. That's going to give that number 2 a good run to the front as you see that hard charging number 2 battling with the number 57 now, trying to get in front of him in front of turn 3, but I don't think it's going to happen. But definitely going to have to watch that on the next straightaway, that we're going to see that happen. And so it's definitely getting very, very close. As you know, at this track, you need drafts, and any sort of breakaways you're going to get, as you saw last lap between the 36 and the 33. It's going to be costly towards them, but they definitely were able to get back together because of Brian Cuts a little loose and definitely taking advantage. Now it's number 2 leading Seth the Merchant, getting down in front of Seth the Merchant. That leaves Stephanie Lesentine on the top side, getting pushed by Joshua Banks.
A good move by Michael Atkins Jr. will put him back in that race lead. And really what happened was the 57 and the 23, they didn't have too much help. The 18 of Ricky Howell Jr. just had a little bit of trouble going to turn 3, had a bad entry, dipped below that yellow line and kind of hit the little bit flatter banking that they've got there. Luckily here at Talladega, there is a little bit of banking below the yellow line on that apron. It's not like Daytona where it goes immediately flat, so you can risk it a little bit getting that the tires underneath. It's going to slow you down, but it's not going to be like Daytona where it'll immediately throw you out of shape and get that truck loose. But there is a spot here in the tri-oval. You may see the trucks bounce a little bit. There is a big dent in that tri-oval there that if you're turning that wheel too hard and just not quite ready for it, you could really upset the balance of the truck and throw that thing sideways. But so far, I think that may have been what caused the Brian Cuts a few laps ago to get loose there. But right now, it seems like everyone's managing that pretty well.
Yeah, and that trial could definitely be costly to some drivers. We've seen it happen before, and I'm sure we're going to see it again at some point, as you see that number 25 get left out to dry on that top side with Michael Atkins Jr. still in front. You see the 3 cars in front trying to make a breakaway, as you see the number 57 and 23 working together to get in front of that number 2 machine, as you see the number 2 machine now dropping down onto pit road.
Yeah, these trucks have only got a 60...
contact in the pit road, 18 and 1.
Some trouble between a few trucks. There's a truck in the grass at the moment. It looks like that is Seth Foudy. So between him and the contact between him and that 18 has sent him all the way out into the grass. Looks like, okay, I'm looking back at it now. We'll see if we can get a replay up. Seth Foudy came into the pit lane going way too fast. He had absolutely no chance of making the pit road speed. He was going over 100 miles an hour when he made contact with the rear end of the 18.
Yeah, it's going to be costly to the number 1 and to that innocent bystander, number 18. You know, going these speeds and slowing down to that pit road speed of 55 miles per hour, you know, it's definitely going to be hard on some drivers, as you saw that number 1 try to slow down into that pit lane speed, and that's just definitely going to be costly, as you see.
Oh, problems with Stephanie Lesentine. She gets into the wall trying to get down pit road, and there is a huge pack of trucks now going down pit road. Doesn't look to be too much damage to the front end of that 25 truck, but as she was trying to slow that thing down, it got a little sideways on her, and almost making contact with the 33 now. Stephanie Lesentine loses the truck. She is sideways in pit road.
Again, another issue with trying to slow down in time, as you see just a lot of people starting to have issues as now she's in her pit. It's definitely going to be an interesting factor into the race, because green flag pit stops are definitely going to be hard on them at this track, as we see the drivers coming out of pit road.
At the moment, Scott Simley leads the race, but he still has to come down pit road. They can't really stretch it any further. It looks like he will come down pit road with the 14 and the 93 of Bobby Terrell and Rich Jetty. So these trucks, they only are carrying a 60% fuel cell, so they cannot go as far as you normally would expect these trucks to go. Now coming out of pit road, it looks like Christian Peterson with Seth the Merchant. They're pushing each other, trying to see if they can get out in front of those drivers that came down the lap before them. But it looks like Michael Atkins Jr. actually with Randy Tesser have made it past them and are maybe going to be the ones leading this race as they cross the start-finish line here. And as I'm waiting for my times to update at the moment, it's still showing Scott Simley in the lead, but I think Michael Atkins Jr. might be our race leader.
Yeah, green flag pit stops, they're definitely going to be tricky for us commentators, but as you see Bobby Terrell now getting onto track early, and they're clocking him as the leader, so we'll see how that works out further on, as you see these guys going down the back. And the first driver, Christian Peterson, in that's turn 2, coming out of turn 2. There are the leaders that came off of pit road, so we're going to see them pass them very easily, as you see the number 23 and 57 now taking off to the front, and there are your leaders now.
Yeah, there are a few drivers that had some issues there on that pit road, and that's to be expected when you're trying to get these trucks going from almost 200 miles an hour down to 55. They're heavy trucks with very small brakes, and those brakes are definitely cold after getting minimal usage here on this racetrack. So it's definitely going to be very difficult for these trucks to go down for pit road service, and that's really going to be one of the stories of the night, is who's going to be the best at that. And we saw last week that Christian Peterson can run that truck almost all the way to the pit road line before getting himself down to the pit road speed limit. He has really mastered pit entry with these trucks, and that's really going to be helpful for him, as it allowed him to actually pass his teammate. But it really kept, they did keep their pit times together so they could come out with each other. But it looks like now they're going to be under attack from the other drivers that are catching up. Looks like 54 of Tim Matthews is going to be leading that outside line with a little bit of help from Justin Michael. As mentioned, he was the winner here at Daytona a few weeks ago, so watch for Justin Michael to make a few moves once he pushes Tim Matthews to the front. And they have got some fantastic momentum on that high side, and I think that will get that lap led to Tim Matthews. He will beat Christian Peterson to the line.
That was to be expected. You know, there were only two drivers working together. That was the number 23 and 57. But now you had 5 drivers behind them working together, and that was definitely going to be able to push them to catch up to those lead cars and give them a run for their money, as you see that number 23 and 57 working together now on that bottom side. As we're going to see more action ramp up as we're on lap number 29 going to lap 30.
And these guys have experience working together as a team on super speedways. They work together in the Super Speedway Cup Series here on LSRTV, and they have some of the highest experience at these racetracks, I'd say, in this field. So really watch for Christian Peterson and Seth Merchant to never leave each other's bumper, and if they do, they'll be trying their best to just get back together, because they know once they get together, they are almost unstoppable, and that they will be able to make any move they have to make if they work together. And it's even holding off of Tim Matthews on that outside. There's just it's really 2 versus 2 on these two lines, because that 14 truck is just so far back from that 57. But look how well they're working together on that low side, and they're really holding off that hard charging 54 truck.
Yeah, they are. You see some lap traffic coming up, as that's the number 1 who got into that number 18 coming into pit road, as you see 3 wide for a second, but made it all clear as we have caution out on the track.
Looking throughout the racetrack, trying to find where that problem is. I'm not seeing any trucks sideways at the moment, but we're going to take a look here and see where we can find it. It looks like the 33 of Keith Butt may have been the cause of this caution coming out. He's gonna, looks like going into turn number 3, we're gonna get a replay up for you. Keith Butt goes up. It looks like the 30 hits the wall. Keith Butt now gets sandwiched between the 30 and the 36, and that's just gonna turn him sideways all the way around. Gets hit by the 78, and some heavy damage to that 33 truck. He's gonna be able to keep running, but here at Daytona, you really need those, or sorry, here at Talladega, similar to Daytona, you need those trucks to be completely clean to have any sort of chance at the lead.
Oh yeah, aerodynamics is a huge part of Talladega, as you saw the number 33 get involved in that incident. It's going to be costly towards him, as that number 30 definitely got up into that high side, and it just went apart from there, as you see that number 30 getting on its side. So we'll see how that works out for him as we work into lap 30.
Yeah, and looking how these trucks are going to stack up, I think Christian Peterson was the leader at the time of the caution. Tim Matthews currently being scored leader just because he crossed the line as CP was slowing down. But I think if Tim Matthews is in second, that will leave Seth the Merchant at third. So that's going to allow those trucks to stay together. But it looks like Christian Peterson is electing to lead the entire field down for pit road service.
Yeah, leading that charge, the number 23 of Christian Peterson, as we see the number 1 staying out along with some other drivers. But following that number 23 onto pit road, he's going to come in, and now we start to talk strategy. What strategy will these drivers take? You know, it's all about fuel, as we see a gas and go by the number 23. And then right side's by that number 54, so we're starting to see some strategy already. Gas and go, and some take 2 tires. We're going to be seeing that all throughout the night. This is Talladega. Strategy can come into play along with fuel.
Yes, but the tires aren't a major factor depending on how these trucks are driving. And it doesn't look like anyone's been overly loose or overly tight here tonight. So it looks like a good call from the 23 and the 57 to just leave those tires on, maybe a quick splash of fuel, and that'll allow them to get out there, keep up towards that front, and get right behind those race leaders that will decide to stay out.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see all these strategies play out as we are pacing lap 32 for an incident. First caution of the night, and we'll see how this works out for everybody else.
I would like to remind you, coverage of the United Sim Racing BNC Lawn and Landscaping Truck Series is brought to you by Joel Real Timing, the official timing software of LSRTV. Whether you spend your time on the sim behind the wheel, on the pit box, or from the spotter stand, JRT is the go-to software for iRacing timing and scoring analytics. Get yourself a basic download or get the pro version today at joe-real-timing.com. As well, coverage of the United Sim Racing BNC Lawn and Landscaping Series is brought to you by BNC Lawn and Landscaping. Trucks continue to pace here on lap 32. Looks like the race lead will be held by Matt Mara, who decided to stay out after the race leaders went down for pit road service. So I think Matt Mara's got himself in a decent position at the moment. Tires aren't a major factor here at Talladega, so really it's going to come down to he's going to have to pit a little bit earlier if we don't get another caution flag. But I think Matt Mara will have a chance to really try to hold off those other drivers, but actually it's looking like he's going to come down pit road now along with 13 and the 7.
Yeah, as we're going to see them come down pit road, that's going to leave that number 23 to the lead. As we're following Matt Mara, we're going to be seeing what he takes. It appears to be just gas, no right sides, along with that number 9 machine. Tommy Ryan also coming down pit road. We'll see what he takes as well, as we see different strategies playing out for different drivers. As you see that number 6 also taking tires, everybody taking tires on this pit stop. So that leads me to believe maybe short pitting, or maybe they just didn't pit and waited for that caution to come out.
I think that might have been just the case of them reevaluating their call there and decided to make that pit stop. And really, once you come down, it doesn't hurt to get fresh tires. I mean, it'll help you a little bit. Maybe it'll make you feel a bit more stable around the corners, make that high side a little easier to work with. But really, it's going without the tires is definitely the best call if you're wanting to make that quick stop. So Christian Peterson, Seth the Merchant, they're going to stay at the front. However, that's going to put them in 2 different lines, because now Tim Matthews is going to be behind Christian Peterson and Seth the Merchant is going to be on the outside line.
Yeah, Seth the Merchant definitely going to be on outside. So we'll see if Christian Peterson slows up, or if Seth the Merchant's going to find a line right below him. So we're going to be seeing how that works out for him, as we are still pacing around this big track, as we're seeing a lot of drivers do some different strategies, as we're going to be seeing that all race long as first caution of the night here tonight at Talladega Superspeedway.
Now, it's going to be interesting to see how Christian Peterson and Seth the Merchant get together again. You mentioned that one of them may hold up a little bit. They could maybe come to the green flag a little offset, so that instead of being completely even up, maybe Seth is hanging a little bit back. They'll maybe talk to each other, say, okay, I'm going to go in 3, 2, 1. Christian gets on that gas, and if he opens up enough of a gap to Tim Matthews, that could give Seth a chance to quickly slip to that inside line and get back with his teammate. But they could also elect to hold those 2 lines here. Since they stay side by side and neither wants to really pass the other, they could just try to game the system here and just try to hold up that outside line and force anyone that wants to make a pass to go 3 wide on that very top side. So really, Christian Peterson and Seth the Merchant, they control this race right now.
They definitely do, and that's most likely what they're going to be able to do at a super speedway track. Again, you got to be able to work with that driver as you see the lights come out on the pace car. So 1 lap to green. So we're going to be seeing what happens between them. Also, the number, Steve Price Jr. and Mark Allen both pull their cars behind the wall.
Yeah, a couple of trucks deciding that tonight isn't their night. They're going to end it early. So terrible luck for them, but really going back to these guys up front there. It's really going to be interesting to see what we're going to have to expect at this green flag drop, but there's still a few other drivers behind them that have been running up front throughout the night. Tim Matthews has been, he did drop back earlier, but he really regathered his strength with a few other drivers and led a hard charge on that outside line. Along with him, he's got Rich Jetty, who is pushing pretty hard, and Scott Simley, as mentioned, he is a two-time defending champ here in this series, so that is definitely going to be another driver to watch out for.
Yeah, a lot of big names in this top area, as you see the number 23 and 57 definitely going to be a force to be reckoned with tonight. You know, it's going to be very, very exciting to see how these drivers come off the restart. It's always an exciting it's always exciting to see the restarts here at Talladega. You know, a lot of drivers want to get to the front. A lot of drivers want to defend their points. A lot of drivers want to, or a driver wants to defend their championship standings. So, you know, it's going to be interesting to see the drivers fighting, as this is the place to fight for. As you can see, a lot has happened within 34 laps. A lot of lead changes, a lot of fighting, a lot of bump drafting going on, and a lot of two-wide action.
And now Christian Peterson will lead this pack off of turn number 4 here at Talladega. Lights on the pace car are out. These guys are packed up 2 by 2. So now they begin that long haul to the start-finish line and where the flag stand sits on this racetrack here. Uniquely after the tri-oval, pace car pulls off a little bit of a push forward from Christian Peterson, and as mentioned, they are a little bit offset. Seth the Merchant not quite completely even up with Christian, just trying to keep him in his sights here. Just going to look for maybe that gap to happen as we wait for that green flag. And there goes Christian Peterson, jumps off ahead as the green flag flies, and that's going to open up that gap for Seth the Merchant. Will Seth drop down, or is he going to elect to hold that outside? He does move to the inside. So Seth the Merchant and Christian Peterson linked up back again, but here comes Bobby Terrell now on that outside. He's got some help from that 68 of Scott Simley, but Bobby Terrell looking to that inside, maybe deciding they're going to go single file here. So it looks like this top group of drivers just holding single file, trying to see if they can maybe build up a run before making a move on Christian Peterson, Seth the Merchant. But a good start from those two guys up front, and they're back together again.
That was textbook restart by Seth the Merchant and Christian Peterson, as you see them starting to pull a little bit of a gap, but not a lot. Is that 14 and 68 starting to look to go to that top side, see if anybody else would work with them. As you are correct, I feel like they are trying to build up a little bit of a run before they go up to that top side. You know, it's going to be interesting to see how these guys attack that number 23 and 57. They are just such a good team, and it's incredible to watch them work throughout the night.
He has a gap between them and the 54 of Tim Matthews, and Tim Matthews got a gap between him and Bobby Terrell, so Matthews really has nowhere he can go. He's just kind of sitting in no man's land at the moment. He doesn't quite have enough in him to really suck up to that those front two drivers, but again, he just doesn't have that push from the 14 behind him, so he's just at the moment just has to sit and wait and hope that the guys behind him don't get a huge run, because if they do and they push to the outside, that might let Tim Matthews just drop all the way to the back.
Yeah, Tim Matthews is definitely in no man's land, as you see that number 14 and 68 trying to get caught up to that number 54, maybe going to try and get to that outside. You know, again, the more people you have in one line, the faster it's going to be. So we see that number 68 trying to see if anybody else would go up to the top side with him, as that 93 seems to be following him. It's questionable with that number 4 and that number 5 and the number 04. But they definitely got a long train behind them, all single file, as we see now looking a little bit further back in the pack. I can't really tell who that is.
I think that's the 87 of Justin Michael.
Yeah, they're going up top. Oh, a little bit of contact, able to keep it straight. Then that was very, very good racing by those drivers, and as you see, they're able to keep it straight and going to keep that caution away.
Yeah, it looked like the 31 was just slow going into turn number 3 and got clipped maybe by Michael Atkins Jr. I do not know how those two didn't get into each other even harder and spun each other out, but that was a very lucky opportunity, or lucky chance for the 31. He nearly had his truck wrecked after that huge, that close incident. now looking back, Justin Michael trying to get some help here with Jamie Walker. The 87, the 88, they are hooked up together. They're trying to make a move on that outside line. They saw those 10 trucks lined up, nose to tail in front of them, and decided, we're not going to sit here and wait. We're going to take this race into our own hands. And they are making moves. Look at them go on that outside line. They're already up, I believe, up to maybe 5th here at the moment. And they're now passing Scott Simley, so that's going to put that 87 in 5th at the line, maybe even up to 4th as he gets up to the door of the 14 truck. And they are still pushing hard. Look at those two drivers go.
Those two drivers are definitely riding the lightning on that top side. The number 93 and the number 2 are going to try and catch back up to that number, the number 88's back bumper. They are definitely giving 23 and 57 a run for their money going down the back stretch. We'll see what they can do. 87 edging out that number 23. They're going to be able to clear him going into turn 3. That's going to be the question. No, they're not. Ability to be able to keep him at bay with that number 93 and number 2, though. No, 23 is going to get a little bit of push by Seth the Merchant, edging out that number 87 of Justin Michael. Very, very close call between these two as they're going to be coming to the line. They went from the back of this first pack to the front within a lap. That is fantastic racing by them too. Now the number 87 getting points for leading at the line. Fantastic pushing and racing by that number 88 and the number 87.
And now they've got Rich Jetty catching up to them. That 93 truck, he's going to get to the bumper of the 88 of Jamie Walker. That's going to allow them just to get a little bit extra push, and it'll help them down that back straight, but just still not able to get clear. Justin Michael still officially leads this race, but he is not clear of Christian Peterson. He can't move to that inside line, so that's going to force Jamie Walker to keep pushing as hard as he could on, or as hard as he can on that outside. And that's also, but also they still do have that help from Rich Jetty, who's getting even closer to that bumper, the 88 truck. And look how hard Jamie Walker is pushing. He knows that he's got very little tape on that nose of that truck, and he knows he can push as hard as he can for really as long as he wants here. And now that will allow that 87 to jump down to that inside, but now Jamie Walker has lost his draft partner. Rich Jetty is not pushing up to him at all anymore. And as soon as that 87 moved to the inside, he's just the 88 dropped back. But now look at Christian Peterson and Seth the Merchant. Now that they saw they have their chance. Now that they lost his draft partner, he immediately makes the move to the outside. And also Jamie Walker, he's not going to help them at all. Jamie Walker tries to push even higher up the track. He does not want to help those two drivers. He wants to try to make a move for himself up to the front.
And that is how fast things can change within 3 laps. We saw drivers come up from the back to the front, take the lead, and now Christian Peterson took the lead back, but now that number 88 of Jamie Walker getting pushed to the front by the number 93 of Rich Jetty. Fantastic racing by these drivers. It is getting very dicey and very racing up here. This is getting exciting, Kelly.
Yeah, look, Seth the Merchant has elected to leave his teammate. Oh, trouble in the field. Looks like the 18 sideways. Big problem. A huge wreck. The 18 is sideways. Number of drivers have got into him, and there are still trucks crashing into each other. Actually, I think that might have been the 12 of Greg Mall. Lost his truck, and there are trucks strewn all over the back straight.
Yeah, you know, it's another... it looks like he got a little bit loose or got a wrong tap, wrong place, wrong time. As you see that number 12 get to the number 14 and then just collect a whole bunch of drivers behind him. And that's what happens at Talladega Super Speedway when things go horribly wrong in an instant. There's really nowhere else to go.
Yeah, a few of those drivers were just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Nothing that they could do, but that will now let Rich Jetty lead this race at the moment as they'll catch up to the pace car. But that was a huge accident. That will take a number of trucks out of this race here tonight.
Yeah, as Rich Jetty now being credited the race leader, but again, that's how quickly things can change at Talladega Super Speedway. As we see, that's a trend here tonight. You know, that was just fantastic action all around, and you know, with that amount of excitement going on in that little amount of laps on this track, it was destined for something to happen. As you just see, 3 wide sometimes doesn't work out too well for drivers.
No, it didn't work out at all, because, I mean, you do have that extra space here at Talladega compared to Daytona, but once you've got a truck sideways, a sideways truck will take up about half of that track. So now you've got maybe 20 trucks behind that driver trying to filter through this tiny little gap, and once another truck hits that guy that really just bottlenecks even more. So some of these guys, they were left with absolutely nowhere to go. But going back up to the front here, Rich Jetty's going to lead this entire field down for another round of pit road service. And watch for that 23 of Christian Peterson. He has been fantastic in the pits. We'll have to see if he'll elect to take tires this time around, because last time he went to the pits, he decided to just take fuel.
Yeah, so we're going to watch him pull into his pit stop. Very, very fresh, or excuse me, very, very clean stop into his pit stop as he's taking right sides of fresh Goodyears, some gas, and we'll see if he takes the left sides. Well, yes, he will, as we see now. Randy Tesser stays out on track and will become the race leader as Christian Peterson takes 4 tires and gas, is going to pull out onto the racing surface.
And one of those drivers that got a great pit stop would be Jamie Walker. He was in, I believe, 2nd place when he came down. Now he's way ahead of Rich Jetty, but looks like Randy Tesser and Robert Gillenwater, they elected to stay on the lead lap, and we'll have to see how those two will shape up in that race lead right after these guys go green flag. And we'll get you back to green flag racing after we take a quick break of your own, so don't go anywhere. You're still watching the United Sim Racing BNC Lawn and Landscaping Truck Series right here on LSRTV.
I'm driving the number 20 JGR Toyota Xfinity car this weekend. Really great opportunity here at New Hampshire at my home track. Over the past 2 weeks, I've been on iRacing, practicing a little bit here and there with the modified and the NASCAR Xfinity car. So it's been a lot of fun. It's been a great tool for me to kind of get used to that stock car body again and be prepared for the race today. Well, yeah, it's a mile long, so the draft kind of plays into effect here with the modifieds, punches a big hole in the air, and we run restrictor plates. So it makes a big difference. Just really fast, and it's our Daytona. So that's what's great about it, and we have a fast car for tomorrow. I think the biggest thing is they're heavier cars. The tire's a lot different. And the way you go about setting them up is a lot different. They use all 4 tires more than a modified, where we typically drive off the right rear, you know, so. Well, actually, it's funny. I raced NASCAR race in 2003 before iRacing came about. And then when iRacing came about, my friend Kevin Iannarelli, who works at iRacing, kind of told me, hey, man, you need to switch over to this. And when I did, I was like, oh, my God, this is like real life. So I started using it as a tool of mine to really prepare for modified races, whether it was Stafford or Thompson or Loudon, Bristol, and then obviously the Xfinity Series last year, going to road courses, trying to get laps, and use it as a tool that can get me as prepared as I could be without actually doing it. So it's been great.
Welcome back to the Talladega Super Speedway with the United Sim Racing BNC Lawn and Landscaping Truck Series. Just finishing up our second caution of the night here. Jamie Walker currently holds the race lead after some great job down on pit road. To his outside will be the 87 of Justin Michael, and we've seen these guys work together earlier in this race, trying to get up to that up to the race lead. But now that they're side by side, we'll have to see if they work together again, or if they're going to try to maybe push each other out of that race lead.
Yeah, they definitely worked well together through that last stint, as you saw them come back from the back of that leading pack to the front in an instant, as it seemed like. But working together, we're going to be looking to see that number 23 and 67 try to work together, but they are a little bit split up. So we're going to be looking to see how they'll be able to catch up quickly to each other as this green flag goes on.
Lights out on the iRacing official pace car here as they come down that front stretch, that long haul through the tri-oval. The pace car ducks down into pit road, and Jamie Walker now in control of the field, leading them down to start lap 47 and our next green flag run. To his outside, Justin Michael, Rich Jetty behind him, and Chris Guibault on the outside at 4th place. Green flag is coming out. It looks like Jamie Walker waits to that very last second. Green flag now in the air, and Jamie Walker a good jump, but that's going to really cost him as Rich Jetty not up to his bumper, but on that outside, Chris Guibault really getting up to that bumper of the 87 of Justin Michael. They're going to push hard, but not quite enough. As look at the 23 and the 93 really forming a tight group with that 88. A great push for both of them. That actually may open up an opportunity for that 93 to take the outside for his own.
Yeah, as you see that number 23 trying to get up to the number 93's bumper. As you see that number 88 out to the lead still, but that number 87 getting pushed by that number 5. I almost able to get there, but now the number 2 is the only car that separates those two madmen that work together so well. Number 57 and 23. It's going to be interesting to see how that number 2 plays factor into their workmanship, as you see that number 87 working that top side with the number 5, 13, and number 6 challenging the number 88 for the lead. Credited that time for the lead by 1/1000th of a second. It is getting very, very intense up here, and it's only lap 48.
Good attempt from Justin Michael to get the race lead there, but now it looks like that bottom side has regrouped and has formed up quite well. There is nothing separating the 88 from the 93, and nothing between the 93 and the 23, but looks like Christian Peterson is dropping just a little bit further back off that bumper of Rich Jetty. Maybe he might try to make a move to that outside. He will make a move to the outside. He's going to jump up in front of Justin Michael after Justin Michael falls back, so that's going to leave the 93 and the 88 with no one to help him. Justin Michael giving a shot to Christian Peterson. Jamie Walker moving up the cover. We're going to go three wide for the race lead. Christian Peterson moves to the outside. He's got no help with him, and he does not have the momentum to get clear, so Christian Peterson now going to be hung out to dry on that high side. He made an attempt, but there just wasn't quite enough speed behind him. He hoped that maybe Justin Michael will follow him, but now Christian Peterson falling back in the pack, and that may be the furthest back he has been throughout the night, as he's going to slot in way back there. I think he's even further. He might even be outside of the top 10 after this is all said and done, and he's still struggling to get himself into line.
He will follow into line, I think, of position 12. That one move, he tried to get to the lead, and now he's all the way at the back, and he has lost the draft. They are pulling away from that number 23, so big problems for that number 23 machine. As you see now, that second pack starting to come into play for that number 23, 18, and now trying to get to his back bumper. That was a very big, interesting call, and you know, it's a gamble that he was willing to take, but it just didn't work out too well. As you see that number 57 nearly getting to that number 6, trying to go to the top side. Now that number 6 is towards that top lane, as the number 57 is going to try and come down. As you see a lot of switching happening up into that I believe I see what's happening now. That number 57 is going back to the bumper of that number 23 to work together. A very interesting call for those two people, for those two drivers, as you see them now hooking back up. As you see that number 88 still leading the way. Now they are hooked back up, so look for them to make a charge to the race lead.
Chris Guillebeau now on that bottom side. He's got some help from Rich Jetty, and they're going to make a move to the inside, trying to see if they can get around Jamie Walker. Jamie Walker, I think, is our first driver tonight that got the race lead and then elected to not dive down to that bottom side and just stay on the yellow. He decided to move up to that top line, hold off Justin Michael, maybe work with him once again. But that allowed Chris Guillebeau to drop down in front of that bottom line, get a little bit of help from the 93 of Richard Jetty. Now he is clear of the 88 of Jamie Walker. So Chris Guillebeau in the lead, Jamie Walker trying to see if he can get a bit of momentum off that turn 4 hill there. And he's got some help from Justin Michael. Justin's pushing hard, but not as hard as Rich Jetty. Rich Jetty getting those bumpers pretty much locked together, and Chris Guillebeau will be credited with leading that lap.
57 and 23 now looking to do that third line. They're up there, so we'll see if they can make a push towards the front by themselves, as we saw with the 87 and the number 88 a few laps ago. They're moving. They're definitely moving. As we see that race lead still battle on, you see that number 57 with the number 23 catching that lead pack. So we'll see how this works out for them on that high side.
Yeah, definitely a risky move. If something goes wrong, there is nowhere they can go to save themselves. They've got their truck to their inside, a wall to their outside, and they've got those trucks in the middle trapped as well. But they are moving well, and they've actually squeezing down that 13, trying to use that side draft as much as possible.
It is getting very exciting up in this lead pack. Oh my gosh, I believe this is the first time that we saw actual 3-ride racing for the lead a little bit, as you see that number 5 still edging out the number 88 of Jamie Walker, as you see them now get up into a truck length lead of the leader. There we go, 3 wide for the race lead going into turn 3 at Talladega Super Speedway. It doesn't get any better than this on a Saturday night.
Good racing though from Chris Guillebeau with a bit of help from Rich Jetty. He's going to hold on to that race lead at the moment. Christian Peterson and Seth the Merchant still trying to push hard on the outside, and there's nothing that Jamie Walker and Justin Michael can do but hold on to that middle line and try to hope that everything works out for them at the moment, because they are just stuck in that middle line and almost door banging between the 57 and the 87. As it looked like Seth just trying to use as much side draft as he can to see if he can get around him. And look at that inside line. They're getting a great run this time. Look at the 13 now. Jody Green now catching up to the 87. But look at that big push from the outside. 57 of Seth DeMerchant getting a big run, and he's going to hang on with Jamie Walker, and that's going to be your race lead right there. Jamie Walker in the 50, in the 88, and the 57 Seth DeMerchant on his outside, trying to see if he can get a run off of turn 4, and he does have that momentum with the help of his teammate. They're going to be door to door on the high side going to the start finish line.
Yeah, and again, this is how fast things can change. You saw that number 23 fall back to below 12th position, and now he's fighting for that race lead. Fantastic work by these two drivers. I'm surprised that we haven't seen somebody else go up to that top lane to work with them, because it's been working out really well for those two drivers. So we'll see if anybody else goes up with him, or if it's just too risky for other drivers. And we see them getting another run down the back stretch. We see them passing lap traffic in number 1, moving down below that yellow line. Very smart by that number 1, trying not to get involved in the chaos that is happening right now in turn 3.
And here comes Chris Guillebeau once again on that inside line, still getting that help from Rich Jetty, and they're now in that hunt for that race lead once again. And look at Seth the Merchant on that high side. They're going to go 3 wide once more for the race lead. They are door to door once again, coming to the line, but it looks like Jamie Walker will edge out the race lead for that lap. 33 ducking below the yellow line this time, as thankfully all these lap cars are getting out of the way, and that's not forcing any of these guys to give up on any of the runs that they have at the moment. And now it looks like that inside line is starting to win out for the moment. They've got a few more trucks helping them. They've got that 2 truck of Michael Atkins Jr. once again helping them on that inside line. But again, on that high side, Seth the Merchant, Christian Peterson, they're not really nose to tail there. They're a little bit spaced out. They're just using that the momentum that they get from running down the hill and the side draft to help them out. But now they're electing to slot into that high side. They're giving up on the that outside line. They're just going to run with the 87 and the 88 for the time being.
Yeah, they might be able to, they might be looking to get some more momentum going before they go back up to that high side, because they're definitely going to need it to get past, as they were trying for a few laps but couldn't make that high side stick. So they might want a few extra cars or a little bit more momentum to be able to pass those two drivers and get to the point. It is definitely going to be interesting as you see more lap traffic coming upon the drivers throughout the race. You see that number 88 and 87 leading the pack now is a little bit of issues for that number 2 machine, I believe it was. As you see now that bottom lane getting back in front of the number 88, that number 5 taking that spot again, but it is a side-by-side. I love this racing that we're seeing. Fantastic racing so far. It's lap 57 out of 95 laps, and it's just going to be fantastic racing here on out.
Well, now that we've got it to quiet down for a little bit, let's take a look at our iRacing Midway Race Break, brought to you by iRacing, the leading online racing simulation. Developed from the beginning as a centralized racing and competition service, iRacing organizes, hosts, and officiates on virtual tracks all around the world. In the fast-paced world of esports, iRacing is a one-stop shop for online racing, with officially sanctioned racing from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, World of Outlaws, and more. So now leading our race is Jamie Walker. Battling with him is Chris Guillebeau. They've been swapping back and forth for a few laps here, and it looks like now Chris Guillebeau will actually lead this next lap here, but he's also going to have to contend with Justin Michael sitting in 3rd place, Rich Jetty in 4th, Seth DeMerchant in 5th, 6th, Michael Axons Jr., 7th, Christian Peterson, 8th, Jody Green, 9th, Tim Matthews, and rounding out the top 10 at the moment is Tommy Ryan, who's now making the move on that outside to 13.
In 11th place will be Michael Waite. Excuse me. Yeah, okay. Sorry about that. In the 12th position will be Cody Gibson. 13th, Mark McCary. 14th, Dwight Beverly. Aaron Bennett in 15th, as we see at topside starting to move a little bit more. In 15th position, Aaron Bennett, Dwayne Dunn in 16th, Robert Gillenwater 17th, Ricky Howell Jr. 18th, as we saw involved in that incident in pit road. And position 19th, Randy Tesser, and running at your top 20, Bobby Terrell.
George Hendricks sitting in 21st. Scott Formosa sits 22nd, our last car in the lead lap. Louis Robinette is in 23rd, 24th, Michael Warren. Keith Butt sits 25th, 26th, Seth Foudy. Ralph Vandervoort sits 27th. 28th is Joshua Banks, Shane Hawthorne in 29th, and Greg Mull sits in 30th.
31st goes to Scott Simley, Stephanie Lessentine, 32nd. Brian Cutts, 33rd. 34th goes to Matt Mara. 35th, Dustin Hall. 36th, Jeff Ryan. And finishing out your 37th position, Steve Price Jr.
That's been a look at your iRacing Midway Race Break. For more information on a wide variety of sim racing possibilities online, visit iRacing.com to sign up today. For limited time, you can now visit iRacing.com/World of Outlaws to take advantage of some exclusive promo codes and get yourself on iRacing with a 1-year membership for half off, or simply give it a try with a 3-month membership for less than $5. Again, that's iRacing.com/World of Outlaws. Going back up to our race for the lead here, we've now got Seth DeMerchant and Christian Peterson holding off those two spots on the two front spots on the inside and outside line. So those two have really taken control of this race here, are really going to hold up those two lines. So I think if anyone wants to make a move, it's going to have to be to the very high side. I think we're now getting into some green flag stops here.
Yeah, always got to be thinking about those pit stops. If you're up high in that top row, it's going to definitely be hard if you want to come down to pit road, because you have cars on the inside, and it's going to make it hard for these drivers to get on the pit road if they have cars on the inside. And cars on the inside, of course, they're going to be easier. As you see that number 23 get in front of that number 57 and start working together again. But we're going to start seeing some green flag pit stops coming up pretty soon.
Big push from the 87 of Justin Michael to helping along Jamie Walker. And it looks like those two have formed an alliance here tonight, and they're really going to help each other for as long as they can. And really, I think that's the only pair I can see out on the track. Oh, you got a lap car in the middle of the racetrack. That's not somewhere where you want to see them. You usually want to see them on that high side, or at least the low side, to get out of the way. But the 33 was dead center in the middle of the track. And there were a few drivers voicing their displeasure at Keith Butt, who just didn't see the pack coming, but luckily everyone was able to scramble, split themselves in half, go to the high or low side, and everyone gets back into shape here. But that kind of killed the run that the 88 had there. He had a good push from Justin Michael, and Jamie Walker had to give up on that to go around that 33 truck.
Yeah, that was an interesting call by number 33. A lot of drivers very upset, but moving on. That number 88, again, as you were mentioning, lost all the momentum that he had because he had to wait till that last second and then avoid that truck. But now he's up close to the door panel of that number 23 machine, as you see them now starting to fall a little bit back because they only have 2 drivers in that top lane. Closest one is that number 13, and he's a little bit further back than they'd like him to be. But you see him starting to fall back, and they're going to need more drivers up in that top lane to make something happen.
It could be the opportunity of maybe one of the drivers on the low side jumping up behind the 87, but at the moment it seems like a lot of these guys are content to just ride out behind Seth the Merchant and Christian Peterson up front. But 2 people that aren't content to do so are the 88 of Jamie Walker and the 87 of Justin Michael. They are still fighting tooth and nail for that lead position, and they're getting another run forming here and coming through turns 2 here. They get some great momentum off the corner, and they're going to get up right to the door of the 23 truck, and they're going to be completely even up going down into turn number 3.
Yeah, as you see them going into the turn number 3, as you're going to probably see that bottom line again, as you see the number 1 of that lap machine going. Yeah, everybody's going to make it around very nicely, as you see that number 23 still out in front. And, you know, lap traffic might be a little bit of an issue, as you saw that number 33, but mainly that you would like to see them up top towards that high side, but sometimes that's not just the case. So you're gonna have to adjust to what you have. And Talladega is always about adjustments.
Now we've got that high side starting to form up a bit better. That 13 truck's getting a little bit closer, but that bottom line is a lot more grouped up than the high line is, and that's really going to help the 23 and the 57 who are running nose to tail at this moment. They've also got Chris Guibault in that 5 truck. He's starting to get a little bit closer, helping them along with that push, and that's really neutralizing any advantage that high side line is getting when they come off of the corner and down the hill. So it's some really good racing for those guys on the bottom side, but that's really penning them in at the moment if they got nowhere to go. Look at the 13. He's going to elect to go 3 wide here. He doesn't want to push the 87. He wants to go for the race lead on his own. And he's also got some help from the 0-1 of Dwight Beverly. It looks like Tommy Ryan and Cody Gibson as well is going to form that outside line. So we're going to get a 3rd line forming once again, and we may go 3 wide racing for the lead. However, they don't quite get the momentum. And look at the 57. He's going to jump up to that high line, going to swap positions with the 23, and it looks like they're starting to manage their temperatures now. So they're going to try to push each other as hard as possible for as long as possible. Once that engine overheats, they're going to jump to that outside line, make the quick pass, and jump right back down to try to get back to pushing as hard as possible. So now if you want to make a move, you have got to keep that 23 truck pinned down to that inside line so he can't make that swap.
Yeah, definitely these 2 drivers are working together. We've seen it all night long, and now coming into pit stops and coming down to the tail end of this race, you're going to see these guys work harder, and you're going to have to keep them at bay. So you got to come up with some strategy with some other drivers and try to make something work between you guys and those drivers up there to keep them a little bit calm and not be able to work well together. But we're seeing that top lane starting to fade out a little bit, so we'll see how this works out for that top lane as you see them passing another lap traffic car. Number 57 still out in front, as you see in front of the number 23, pulling away a little bit from that number 5, but the number 5 is going to get a little bit of a run getting up to that top spot. But that top lane definitely has faded out a little bit, as it's just the 88 and the 87 working on that top line, Jamie Walker and Justin Michael, as you see Seth the Merchant still in the lead.
Now you're going to wonder, if Chris Guibault were to jump to that outside right now, would Rich Jetty and the 2 of Michael Atkins Jr. follow him, or would they elect to just take the easy position and just slip underneath him for that spot? There is an opportunity if those 3 go to that high side, they may have a chance to run for the lead. I'm sure if they were to make that move, the 54 of Tim Matthews behind them would follow them with him, because Tim Matthews has been trying his best all night to get around those 2 trucks that are up front here at the moment. So really it comes down to, are these guys willing to take that gamble and hope they can trust that guy behind them to come with them on the high side, or do they think that guy behind them is just going to undercut them and go for the easy position?
Yeah, as you see it now, a little bit formed up into a line, and we're going to be waiting to see if this is the setup for their pit stops, or if they're just riding it out, trying to log a little bit more laps and before more excitement happens, as definitely going to be happening at Talladega. As I'm sure they're waiting for either pit stops or more cautions to happen, and you see just this. This is the second time, I believe, that we've only seen them do a single file train, so we're keeping an eye to see who jumps out quickly.
Yeah, I think a lot of these drivers are knowing that that green flag stop is coming, so they're electing to just stay in line for the moment. I think a few drivers are calling out when they're going to be pitting and trying to see if they can get some guys to come down with them. And really, what you're going to have to watch for is how well Seth the Merchant, Christian Peterson pit. We saw last week at Texas how fast they can come into pit road. I mean, Seth the Merchant was sideways going to pit road every time at Texas. Christian Peterson, every time he went down pit road at Texas, we thought he was speeding on entry, but he just knows how to push that limit. So really, when it comes to green flag stops, those two that are up front really have the advantage. So you have got to follow them, or at least find a way that you can hit faster than them and maybe get a better run off the corner. But really, some of these guys are going to have been pushing it a little too hard, as you saw that first time we had green flag stops. And we had a number of drivers get into each other. A couple of them get into the wall as they really encountered a lot of problems trying to slow these heavy trucks down.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be a thing to keep an eye on, as you see that number 33 going above the number 5, or excuse me, the number 93 of Rich Jetty going above, and you see pit stops starting to happen now. The 57 going on to pit road. We'll see if there's any problems between anybody going on to pit road, as everybody seems to make it on cleanly. So we'll see the calls for these drivers coming down on pit lane, as you see some drivers already on pit road, as we're following that number 57 to Seth the Merchant. That gives Rich Jetty the race lead as of now, followed by Matt Galackin Jr. coming down into the pits. Clean stop, as you see, right sides up. We'll see if he has 4 fresh Goodyears or just 2 fresh Goodyears, as he's off with 2 fresh Goodyears along with other drivers. 23 will beat him out on the pit road along with the number 30, but they're going to be racing to the backstretch to see who can hook up quickly. He's going to try and get past that number 30. We'll see if that happens, as he's going to take a shorter line around the... Oh, that was very close. He got a little bit loose, but now he is close to that number 23, as you see more cars coming down pit lane. Rich Jetty also coming down pit lane. That is your race leader as of now.
It looks like everyone got into pit road cleanly this time around. However, there was a little bit of problems that I saw for that 57 to Seth the Merchant. Looks like when he was pitting, he encountered some lap traffic there that he had to work his way around. Maybe checked up just a little bit on pit road. So that may be what cost him here in this race. He could have put him a little bit further back on the track, but we'll have to see as these two race around pit road. Will they pass Rich Jetty, as Rich Jetty is now trying to get back up to speed on the inside of turns number 1, and he's got those 2 drivers, Christian Peterson and Seth the Merchant, charging hard, but those 2 are actually under fire right now from the 87 and the 88. Justin Michael and Jamie Walker wasting no time. They know that this is their opportunity. They move to that high side. They're actually going to get around those 2 drivers, and they're going to make it a move for this race lead, as they're going to see if they can catch the 93 of Rich Jetty, who has actually got a great pit stop and has got himself quite far up the track, but it's not going to get up to speed in time. And look at the 87 going to move up to the race lead.
Yeah, as we see some 3-wide action with the 01 and those 2 drivers. Oh my gosh, so much movement going on. How are they able to keep these cars straight? Fantastic work by the 87 and 88. We're going to see them working well together throughout this whole entire race. That was so close with the number 23 and 57 moving in and out of that little pack that they had to work through. As you see now, just 87 and 88 leading the way, trying to get caught up by the number 23, 57. We'll see if they keep in line, or if they're going to jump to that outside and give them a run for their money, and see if that number 5 will follow them as well. As you see a line there, going to stay in line a little bit, wait for that opportunity.
Now we're going to be coming up to 27 laps to go as they cross the line here. It's going to be quite close on their fuel limit here. So a lot of these guys had to plan it out while driving, and really when you're trying to do some quick math under pressure, you may not get that call right. So maybe at times some of these drivers may have come down pit road a lap or two early, or maybe not have taken enough fuel in the tank to make it to the end. So that's going to be a question that we may be answered before this race is out, is did anyone make the wrong call and not put enough fuel in their tank? So if we go green to the end, and we may have some drivers that went short on their fuel and may run out before this race is over. So a lot of these guys are going to draft as hard as they can, try to save as much fuel as possible, and see if they can make that fuel mileage work, as they're coming up now to a few lap trucks here that are thankfully staying on the high side this time.
Yeah, as you see those that make it cleanly around, as you see that snake of trucks on that low side, it's only a matter of time between now and the time that these drivers want to go to that outside, as you see them just calmly logging laps, maybe saving fuel a little bit, and see if they can make it to the end, as it's definitely getting down to the wire. Less than 20 laps to go, I believe. 94 laps, doing a little bit of math in my head. Yes, less than 20 laps to go here, and it's going to be an interesting fight to the finish.
Yeah, it's gonna be very close here for some of these guys. I think they might be okay on fuel. I was had my math incorrect there earlier. I forgot we were going 94 instead of 100. So we'll have to see. Maybe some drivers did the same thing as me, made the wrong count, maybe took a little bit too much fuel. So that would have cost them by taking that longer pit stop. They're gonna be further back in the field, and really now that we're coming down to the wire, it's gonna be harder to make the passes here on the track, because a lot of these guys are gonna be running as much more aggressive than we saw on these earlier laps.
Yeah, they know that they're good to the end, so they're probably just logging laps, you know, looking at what they're doing, and we're going to see some two-wide battle here pretty shortly, I feel like, because it's getting dicey up in here, as we've seen it happen, as we've seen three-wide racing, and it was only mid-race, so I'm sure we're going to be seeing a lot more of that.
Yeah, right now these guys are just biding their time, staying single file at the moment, trying to see if they can form a bit of a run here. But it looks like this pack is just a little bit too thick at the moment. So really, it's all the way back, I think, until really 11th place. I think 11th place of Michael Atkins Jr. is the last truck that's in the single file. And I was actually got a few more drivers behind him that's single file. It's a lot of lap traffic, so even 12th, 13th, and really this entire lead pack is single file. And at the moment, I mean, if one guy moves out with to the high side with a little bit of help, they can make a lot of trucks, or pass a lot of positions and put a lot of trucks behind them. But they just have to have a few people to work together. We saw it earlier in the race when Justin Michael, Jamie Walker, they got together. They were back in, I think, 13th when they decided to make this move at the outside. And within a lap, they were challenging for the race lead. So really, it just comes down to a couple trucks getting together, getting a good hard push, and trying to use the momentum of the side draft to the best of their ability. And we can just get a few of them to get up to the front. And it looks like we got someone trying to make this move now up here. We've got the 01 and the 6, and now the 5 moving to that high side. So we've now got that second line forming. Looks like the 23 and the 57 are going to try to make the move as well. The 5 now is getting left up on that high side out to dry. Looks like the 01 of Dwight Beverly did not want to help him at all, just cut underneath him, and Chris Guibault is getting left out to dry. No one to help him, and he's stuck there on the high side.
Yeah, you know, you're going to need some guy to draft with, and just being out there by yourself isn't really going to help. He's going to try and find a spot behind Cody Gibson. You see now Christian Peterson out to the front, getting pushed by Seth the Merchant. We'll see if the number 87 of Justin Michael, as they are coming up on lap traffic now, coming into turn 3. We'll see how they handle this. Coming out of turn 4 now. Trial was a little bit wider, so they're going to have a little bit more room to work with, as you see them going 3 wide for a second, but everything works out well between that 18.4 and then the 2 lines above them, as you now see that separation between those 4 front cars and the 01 of Dwight Beverly, the number 54 as well, a little bit of separation on that bottom line of Tim Matthew. I knew it was going to be a matter of time, but here we go. Now it's starting to get ramped up with coming to lap 80.
And normally when you come up to lap traffic, the lap traffic goes to the high side of the track. That time the lap traffic elected to stay on the inside. They really broke up the field. Look at the 01. He's trying to make a move on that high side with the help of the 6 of Tommy Ryan. So Dwight Beverly trying to see if he can make a challenge for the race lead. Trying to see if he can make this a 6-car fight here. As we almost get we're now getting the 54 as well. Tim Matthews moving to the inside line. We're really getting a 3 lines here working together. Look at this. No one wants to help the 23 and the 57. They know how dominant the 57 has been this entire season. They saw how dominant the 23 was last week. No one wants to see those two continue to win. And it looks like the 87 is going to, I don't know if he's trying to move to block that line or if he's just trying to see if he can use that line to push him even further ahead of Jamie Walker. But really, it seems that the entire field almost banding together to stop those the 23 and the 57.
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, you know, you're going to have to find a way to keep them at bay. And now we're seeing them because now they were left out to dry in the middle, but the 87 chopped up in front of the number 23. So it's going to be interesting to see how that 23 and 57 work together to maybe get that third line forming again like we saw earlier, or stay in that second line and hope something happens between them. As you see now, just a lot of chaos happening up in this front pack with the number 87 leading and that 88 giving a run for their money.
Looks like they're trying to stall at the 87 so they can get a run off the corner for the high side maybe. No, they elect to stay right behind him. They're going to give him a good push, and now Jamie Walker is going to move to that middle line. So that's an interesting call from Jamie Walker. He's actually going to get a shot from the 87. The 87 is going to move Jamie out of the way. So Jamie's going to be hung out to dry on the high side. Looks like the 0-1 though of Dwight Beverly is going to come up to help him, but no more is the 87 and the 88 working together. Those two have decided to break ties. It looks like Justin Michael wants to just go on his own here for the race lead. He's tired of helping Jamie Walker, and now he's going to try to see if he can just use the 23 and the 57 to his advantage to help hold off the 54 of Tim Matthews.
Yeah, as we see now that 87 taking advantage of it. We'll see if they clear him. The 23 went down. That's interesting because that 57 was not clear. So maybe we're seeing a little bit of every man for himself. As you see now them separated basically. So we'll see what happens between them. And now the 87 and 57 are working together, I believe that is. Yes, it is. As the number 23 and 54 are working together as well on the bottom side. We see a little bit of the high side is definitely more cars involved. Wait, I did not see the back, but they are a little bit separated. So yeah, that top side is definitely going to be moving a little bit quicker as the number 4 is going to catch up to that number 5 and make a little bit of run for their money.
Yeah, but no one was really up to the bumper of Tim Matthews. He's got a big separation between him and Mark McCrary, so that's quite a bit of a gap, and that's quite a bit of a hamper on what they're attempting to do down there. But they're working a bit better down that bottom side because the 54 is pushed right up to that to the bumper of Christian Peterson. On the high side, Seth the Merchant isn't giving it his all to push Justin Michael, as we saw him pushing his teammate earlier. So it looks like he doesn't want to push Justin Michael ahead of his teammate. He's trying to just give enough of a gap that he can hold his position, but he's not going to push as hard as possible to really take the lead away from his teammate. But that's kind of difficult to do if you don't get that help from the rest of the inside line.
Yeah, as we're going to come up to 10 to go, and it's getting exciting up in this front pack. Some drivers are definitely have to maybe start thinking about forming that third line if they want to get to a win tonight. Christian Peterson giving the number 87 a little bit of run on the inside. That lap car staying on the inside again below that yellow line. Very smart. 87 getting a little bit of edged out by that number 57. We see now that number 13 and 01 starting to make that little bit of run with the 7 and the 6 on that outside, and the number 88 and the 4 and the 04 trying to work together on that bottom line as well, trying to catch back up to that lead group. It is getting very, very intense here as that number 13 and 01 is trying to push each other, trying to make that top side work a little bit more. As you see the number 87 of Justin Michael working a little bit better with Seth the Merchant to edge out number 23 of Christian Peterson as we're coming into the closing stages of this race. The number 13 and 01 still trying to make it work. The number 5 went up into the middle lane between 93 and the number 2.
Yeah, Jody Green is starting to form up that third line, and they're starting to get moving towards the front, so they may be challenging. Oh, contact! The 57's a little bit sideways. He's going to hold on to it. The 93 is going to move up the track and check the field up. A few more drivers making contact throughout the field, and we do have a caution flag out on the racetrack as we've got the number 4 of Robert Gillenwater. He is facing the wrong way, so all of that really stemmed from actually that incident between Gillenwater, I think, happened further back in the field. He just checked up as he saw the accident starting to form in front of him, and looks like the 34 didn't notice that, kind of got into Robert Gillenwater. But really this all happened because of Seth the Merchant. He was running his line, and it looked like the guy underneath, looks like the 54 might have just got up to him a little bit, tagged him as he was trying to enter the corner. It looks like Tim Matthews was just running a little bit too high on the racetrack, bumped into Seth the Merchant. Seth nearly goes sideways. When you get that, when you hear your tires squealing at 190 miles an hour, you know you've got to be very fine on the wheel, or else you're going to have your race end that night. For Seth the Merchant, that was some great wheel work for him to keep that truck pointing the right way around, and I thought for a moment we were going to stay green flag.
Yeah, I did too. That, you know, a lot of fantastic wheel work by them, but that 34 and 4 just got together, and it's really hard to see in front of the other trucks because it's basically a wall. You just see the back windshield, and it's hard to see. And if you don't have a spotter, you don't know what's happening. So that could have very well been the case for the number 34 actually, the number 4 went up a little bit into him and collected the number 6. So very, very unfortunate timing. But this will give us a fantastic setup for a restart with less than 10 to go.
Yeah, it looks like everyone is electing to stay out on the racetrack. I think there's maybe one truck that went below, and that's Dwight Beverly. He's gone down for pit road service, and so has, I think Tommy Ryan has as well. But everyone else is elected to stay out on the racetrack, stay with their track position they have at the moment. And I think by the time we get racing, we're only going to have 3 or 4 laps to go, maybe 5 at the most. So it's really going to come down to the wire here. You have to look at who you're going to be stuck with at the moment, and it's still going to be a bit of separation between Christian Peterson and his teammate Seth the Merchant, because Christian Peterson is sitting in first, Seth the Merchant is sitting in fourth. So not only are they going to have a car between them, they're going to be in completely separate lines. So it's going to have to force them to really work with other drivers tonight, that this for maybe the first time tonight, to try to get into a different position to help their teammate out. But really, this is a good opportunity for Tim Matthews to try to challenge Christian Peterson for the lead.
Well, I don't think that even Christian Peterson and Seth the Merchant are working together anymore, because if you remember in that last run, basically, I believe it was Seth the Merchant that just left the number 23 and tried to go to that middle lane and tried to make something happen in that middle lane. So I don't think they're going to be working together anymore. They might be working together. They have a little bit of separation, but it's definitely interesting to see these closing stages of the lap and seeing who fights with somebody or who fights against somebody, and who's going to be working together and who's going to be finding somebody else new to work with. Because when you have this many laps left in the race, you're going to need to find somebody different to work with to make it all the way to the front.
Yeah, and we did see an alliance that had formed throughout the race fall apart at the end there. The 87 of Justin Michael was working throughout the night with the 88 of Jamie Walker. Then in that last green flag run there, Jamie tried to move up to that second line to where Justin Michael was, and Justin just pushed Jamie out of the way and forces Jamie to stay on that high side on the third line where no one really was at that moment. So Jamie just moved farther back in the field, and now Jamie's sitting in 11th when at that moment he was leading the race, and now Justin Michael sits in third. So that was another alliance that had fallen apart. But I don't think Christian Peterson and Seth the Merchant have fallen apart at the moment. They've been teammates since before this race. They've been teammates for years, really. So I think that was just a call they tried to make that didn't quite work out. They tried to maybe slip between those two lines and get themselves both on the bottom side, but it just didn't quite work out, and they got separated a little bit. But I still think those two will be working together.
We'll see as the green flag flies, as we're going to be looking for the lights on top of the pace car as they are still on. So we've got another lap of pacing, or at least another 2 laps of pacing, and we'll see how this works out. As we see your top 10 are Christian Peterson, Tim Matthews, Justin Michael, Seth the Merchant, Rich Jetty, Jody Green, Mark McCary, Michael Atkins Jr., Chris Gaboo, and Cody Gibson. So that's your top 10, and you have 15 cars on the lead lap. So we'll see how this works out for the people up in the top 15 and see how these lines work together and see if there's a third line formed and when that third line will form and how it will work out and who will be in it, who will try to make a third line on the start, or who's going to be waiting to make that third line whenever, as we are coming down into the final stages of this race. This is a fantastic finish.
Now, the lights on the pace car are still on. It's just that all the drivers are raring to go. They're already starting to form up into their 2x2 formation here, but we are still pacing here. We still have at least one more lap under the caution flag. So these guys are already showing they are raring to go. They've already formed up. I think they want the green flag to just drop right at this moment. I don't think they even care if they were going into turn 3. They just want to get right back to racing, and I think they're sick and tired of just being stuck behind this pace car. But it is quite a bit of a jump to go from being 190 miles an hour to be going just 60 underneath the pace car. So it's definitely a point in the where you get a little bit anxious, and that may also play into things. These guys are getting their nerves all worked up and getting all hyped up for the green flag to come out, and once that green flag drops, some of these guys may try to push themselves just a little too hard and make it a little anxious, jump the gun, and that could cause one of our problems.
Yeah, absolutely. As you were mentioning, they could get anxious, and sometimes with that you can see them spin the tires, maybe get into the other car with that, or maybe just a stack up in one line that really holds that top line or that bottom line. So we'll have to see how these drivers react on that green flag. As you already mentioned, they are already lined up, so that's a sign of anxious right there, as they definitely are going to be fighting for this race lead. You can see all these drivers are raring to go, as we're going to be looking at the lights on top of the forward pacing Mustang as they are out, and now we have one lap. It's going to be lap 90 once we go back green, so only a few laps of racing once this happens, and if the next flag will end it, I believe.
Yeah, there'll be 5 laps to go once we get back underway, and I do believe you are correct. The next flag will end the race. So if there is an accident before lap 94, the caution flag will come out and the race will end. If we hit lap 94 and we get the white flag, if there is an accident, it will stay green. It will be a race to the line. The field will not be frozen. There will not be a yellow flag thrown. So even if the leader spins out, it's going to be a race through that accident on lap 94 to get to that finish. So really, this is going to be shaping up to be our last gasp, our last attempt, your last real shot at going for this race lead. So these drivers are going to be giving it their all.
Yeah, and giving it their all. Again, they know that this is their last chance. So again, a lot of anxious, maybe the adrenaline is high, so it goes into the minds of these race car drivers as they're pacing down the backstretch, knowing that this is their last restart, this is their last chance. They're gonna make it or break it, and we're talking like this is the last race before the playoffs, but it's a race. They're gonna need a win, as you see the Christian Peterson wanting to win another race before the race, or excuse me, Seth the Merchant wanting to win another race, Christian Peterson wanting to go back to back. So a lot of drivers wanting to do a lot of different things, but everybody's always gunning for that win here at Talladega Superspeedway. Again, we do want to mention it is not like Daytona. The start-finish line is further in the tri-oval, so that could also play factor into the checkered flag.
As mentioned, lights on the pace car are out. The iRacing Ford Mustang pace car will be ducking down into the pit road this time around. We're going to get back to racing, and this is going to be, as mentioned, our last shot at the green flag finish. Next flag will end it. Christian Peterson leads these 15 lead lap trucks down into the tri-oval. Tim Matthews to his outside. Any of these 15 drivers have a shot to win it. As we get ready to go once again, green flag in the air. They are all tightly tightly packed together. Everyone's trying to see if they can push as hard as they can. Look at the bumping and banging from the 57 to 87, pushing those two drivers in front of them as hard as they can, each one trying to get that run and use that to their advantage. Some great pushing now coming out from Justin Michael. He's working his hardest, trying to see if he can get up to the high line. He does try to go to the high line, but look at the block from Christian Peterson. Christian Peterson not wanting to let him go. He's now forced to go up high with Tim Matthews. Now the 93 of Rich Jetty. He's going to duck to the inside. We're going to go 3 wide for the race lead.
3 wide for the race lead indeed. As you see, we saw that number 7 and 48 going to that third line, but it happened all before them, so they just shuffled into that middle line. This is fantastic racing as we see that number 93 of Rich Jetty, 23 of Christian Peterson getting pushed by that 57. As you mentioned, they did pair up again, but on that high side, 87 and 54 working together, trying to make something happen. It's just there's just not enough cars up there coming to the final laps of this race. They only have 3 cars on that high side. They're going to need more up there if they want something to happen. So this is fantastic racing to the finish.
And not only do they need more trucks to come with them, they need to group up. They are way too spread out if they want to make anything happen. And the 93 of Rich Jetty, him diving to that inside line, allowed Christian Peterson and Seth DeMerch to hook up once again. And that is something the rest of the field did not want to see, because those two have worked so well together throughout the night. But look at Rich Jetty. He's got a great run through that inside line. He's got some good help from Mark McCurry. Mark McCurry pushing as hard as possible. Mark McCurry really hasn't been up at the front of this field throughout the night. He's been kind of sitting around the midfield, sitting around the back, but now he's got himself into the top 5, and he's got himself a chance to win it. 88 encountering some problems, so some trouble for Jamie Walker. He's going to move to the inside, and look at the outside line now. 13 of Coach Jody Green. He's got to run. He's going to move to that high side. To 23 of Christian Peterson. He's moving to the bottom and leaving his teammate out to dry. Seth DeMerch has got no one around him behind him. Oh, the 23 gets turned. 23 is around. He's into the inside wall, and he's hit hard. He's staying below the yellow line, though, so we're staying green. The caution flag will not fly. The 23 is out of the race, and we got more trucks crashing.
Big problems up ahead. That is the final flag, as we just saw. A lot of stuff happened on that top line, and it just went south from there. It's at 13 and 7. 13 went up, and the 7 just hit him at the wrong place, wrong time, got him loose, and just went on from there. So we'll see who won this race, as this is the final race, or this is the final flag that came out.
I think Seth DeMerchant will be our race winner, and Justin Michael may be the one that comes home in second place after this all forms up. But we'll have to see what the call will be from the tower. Aaron Bennett, our race administrator, will have to try to make a call here, see if he will switch any of the positions around. But I think at the moment, our field is frozen, and I do believe Seth DeMerchant will take the race win. So a little bit of luck, a little bit of skill, and a little bit of good timing for Seth DeMerchant may win this race.
Absolutely. That was a fantastic run to the finish, as now you see just all of the chaos that has happened as Seth DeMerchant following behind the pace car. Going to have to pace these final laps out behind the pace car, unfortunately, at 64 miles per hour. I'm sure this is not how he wanted to win this, but I'm sure he'll take a win nonetheless, as you see Justin Michael and Dwight Beverly following close behind the Ford pacing car.
Yeah, that was very close for those our two front-running drivers here. They nearly both took each other out during that caution or that accident. Justin Michael lost control of his truck for a moment, came down and hit the door of Seth DeMerchant. Seth somehow kept his truck pointed in the straight line, and that also allowed Justin Michael, when he hit just pretty much the solid force of Seth, to really straighten his truck up as well, and allowed him to just keep control and take that second place. And as they were pacing there, Jamie Walker got right up to the bumper of Justin Michael. I wonder if that was maybe a message for earlier, just kind of saying, hey, you kind of left me out to dry there and killed my chances here tonight. Or maybe that might have been a thank you for, hey, this is for earlier tonight. We worked well together. Good job out there. So maybe we'll have to stop in with him later on tonight. Maybe get see if what's between going on between Justin Michael and Jamie Walker.
Yeah, and that was absolutely fantastic working between them, as you know, we see now the final lap pacing around this long track, a long way back to the start-finish line for Seth DeMerchant. And this is just, Well, this is a fantastic racing all the way 94 laps. It was bound. I had a feeling it was going to end like this, but you never want to say it, jinx them. But we had fantastic racing all the way up till this point, and now Seth the Merchant will walk away the winner.
It is a slight disappointment that it has to end like this, and I'm sure a few of these drivers that when we do our interviews after will mention that, but it was a very exciting build-up to those final moments, and there was quite a few lines starting to form. It really was surprising how fast that outside line came up and how fast they formed, and really if they had stuck together and not got into each other, it may have been a chance that those guys on the outside may have had a shot to win it, especially after the inside line's momentum was killed with the 23 going around. So it really was. I really wish we could have seen the race out, but this is going to be how it's going to end. And Seth the Merchant will be coming home the race winner. He just has to slowly bring his car around turn 4, lead these guys down to that checkered flag at the end of the tri-oval, and he will take, I believe, his 4th win here of the season. And he's really become just the dominant force here tonight, or here in the season, in this series. He's went back and forth with Justin Michael for the first few races, but now he's really just fallen into his groove and has really taken control of this entire race series. And this is something he's looking to continue on throughout the entire season. So look to see that name at the front of the track, and look to see that 57 leading quite a bit throughout the night and throughout these weeks as we go on through the season. But Seth the Merchant now coming down to the through the tri-oval, going to collect the checkered flag. And Seth the Merchant, after an exciting race, he will win here tonight at the Young Gun Apparel 250.
Yeah, Seth the Merchant, definitely a name to remember this season. He is absolutely dominating the field tonight and many other races. This will tack on the 4th win for Seth the Merchant, and fantastic work by him and Christian Peterson. Christian Peterson getting another top 10, so we'll see how this works out for him as well in the points, but just fantastic work by them too, and a lot of other drivers definitely didn't want it to end under caution, but we'll work with what we were dealt.
So Seth the Merchant comes home with the win, Justin Michael in 2nd, and Dwight Beverly in 3rd. We will talk to all 3 of those drivers, and we'll send you off here and finish off the night right after these messages. Stay tuned. You're watching the Young Gun Apparel 250 on LSRTV. Welcome back to Talladega Super Speedway as we just finished off the Young Gun Apparel 250. We're going to do a quick rundown of the top of your field, and we'll see where your favorite driver finished. Seth the Merchant, as mentioned, won the race here tonight after a huge wreck took out a few of the leaders and really finished off this race here tonight. Justin Michael comes home second, Dwight Beverly third, Jamie Walker in fourth, Cody Gibson in fifth, Michael Atkins Jr. comes home sixth, seventh goes to Chris Guibeau, Aaron Bennett comes home eighth, ninth to Tommy Ryan, and Christian Peterson rounds out the top 10.
Bobby Terrell came in 11th, and that was your last driver on the lead lap. George Hendricks finished 12th. Ricky Howell Jr. 13th. Dwayne Dunn 14th. Tim Matthews 15th. Rich Jetty in that number 93 will finish 16th. Michael Waite 17th. Randy Tesser 18th. Scott Formosa 19th. And Mark McCary will finish your 20th position.
21st to Jody Green, 22nd will be Lewis Robinette. Michael Warren finishes 23rd, 24th to Ralph Vandervorst. Seth Foudy in 25th, 26th to Robert Gillenwater. Shane Hawther comes home 27th. Keith Butt finishes 28th for the night. 29th goes to Joshua Banks, and Matt Mara finishes 30th.
31st goes to Greg Mull. Brian Cutts goes to 37th. Scott Simley 33rd, Jeff Rhyme 34th, Dustin Hall 35th, Stephanie Lessentine 36th, and rounding out your lineup with the 37th place finish, Steve Price Jr.
So that was your full field rundown here on LSR TV, and we'd like to thank once more Young Gun Apparel for sponsoring this race. Go check them out at young-gun-apparel.com. So now we'd like to talk to Seth DeMerchant after his dominant race victory here, as he's won his fourth race in just 7 races here this season. Seth, what a dominating way you've started out this season.
Thank you. Happened with a lot of luck tonight. Just in the right position at the right time there for that last wreck. It was a lot of fun racing tonight against Justin and Jamie. I think if it would have stayed green, it would come down to between Christian and Justin and Jamie there at the end. We were having a pretty good race all race, and it was a lot of fun.
Now, I think, luck helped you guys maybe at the end there, but it was really a dominating performance between you and your teammate there, Christian Peterson. Was it always your hope to really stay linked up together throughout the night?
Yeah, that was our plan. I'm trying to help him get the points he needs to make the chase, because he's missed the first few races in the series, and it sucks that he got wrecked there and lost like 13 points or so, but I'm sure he can make it up with the way he can drive. He'll win a few more races. We'll be all right.
Now, I believe you mentioned last week in the interview that you guys wanted to start at the back and then eventually work your way to the front, but you guys did elect to qualify and you started up near the front. What decided to make you change your mind there?
Just going back and watching the replay from the Daytona race, neither of us were in it, and went back and watched it and just saw that the racing was a lot cleaner than I thought it was going to be. So I felt pretty good about starting up front if we could stay up there.
Now, one of the things we did see throughout the night was how difficult it was to do green flag stops, but you guys did show that you had the skill to do those green flag stops. Is that something you maybe practice throughout the week leading up to this race?
No, that just comes with practice from running in a Super Speedway Cup for the past 3 years, from doing that every Friday night. So we've gotten pretty good at that, and Christian's just really good at road racing, so I think that's why he's really good at it too. So that's where we made up a lot of our time there at one stage of the race, so definitely helpful.
Yeah, that was a great performance from you guys from tonight, and I think you do know the plan here at this moment. We're going to give you an opportunity to give a shout out to whoever you wish to thank for this race tonight.
Just Six Man Motorsports and Christian for working with you tonight, and P Money for painting all the trucks.
All right, well, thank you very much, Seth, for stopping to us. We'll hopefully see you again next week as we go to Lucas Oil Raceway.
Thank you.
Now I'll send it down to Trevin, who I believe is caught up with our second place finisher of Justin Michael.
Yeah, down here with Justin Michael of the 87 machine. Justin, what was your strategy coming into tonight, knowing that you're a little bit further down the points, and you want to make up some points going into tonight and into the rest of the season?
We just wanted to obviously finish the race first, and so we were hanging around the back with the team. and we just, I don't know, it's kind of on the fly. It kind of changed right halfway, and we decided me and Jamie decided to go to the front. So we passed, I think that one lap we passed 15 cars, and definitely a good clean race. I enjoyed it. I hated for that last wreck to happen. I wanted to finish under greens to see if we could get back to the front there.
Yeah, that was a fantastic fight to the front by you guys. It was amazing to watch, and how. What are your strategies now going into next week and the following weeks? Going next to Lucas Oil Raceway next week, a short track going from a long track to a short track. How are you going to adjust, and what are your plans?
It's definitely difficult. I'm not a short track guy. I don't really run good at short tracks. So if we can get top 10, top 5, and keep clean, we'll call that a win.
Absolutely, and sponsors and shoutouts for you. Who gets it done for the 87 machine?
Absolutely. Young Gun Apparel for sponsoring the race, and Young Gun Motorsports. They brought me on a couple weeks ago, so I appreciate those guys. We put 511 Tactical in the car a couple weeks ago. We like running and sponsoring and putting their names out there, and always have AR15.com on there because we always have to support our Second Amendment rights. And just you guys for calling the race, and because it's always a good show. So I appreciate you guys.
Well, thank you. And that was your second place finisher, 87 of Justin Michael. Kelly, back to you.
Yeah, a fantastic race we had throughout the night. Unfortunately, it did end the way it did, but really it was extremely exciting from flag to flag. I don't think we really had any moments that was really dull and boring here, Trevin.
Absolutely not. It was action all the way around for 94 laps, as you expect it from Talladega Super Speedway, and it was just a fantastic fight to the finish. It was a lot of 2 wide, some 3 wide action, and possibly even 4. You can consider it 4 wide action with the drivers below that yellow line. But all in all, it was just a fantastic race. There was never short of excitement here tonight at Talladega Super Speedway, and looking forward to next week going from a long track, as I mentioned, to a short track.
Well, as we wrap up on the night, we want to remind you to keep up with us on social media, Facebook at LSRTV on Twitter, and you can go to livesimracing.com to find out more on all things on LSRTV. From all of us here, Kelly Dahl, myself, Trevin Valderrama, Cisco Scaramuza, as well as DJ Lion, Evan Prisoko, and Laura Lawson, we would like to thank you very much for stopping by with us here tonight. We'll see you next time at Lucas Oil Raceway.